welcome everyone to the WRESTLEDUDE YouTube channel. Back here again for another Takeover review for Talking Takeover for NXT Takeover Portland 2020, the first Takeover event of the year. It was a very exciting show. I feel like we're off to a really good start with NXT Takeovers this year. They set the bar pretty high. I actually had to go back and watch the show twice, though, because during my initial viewing of it, I was very tired. I was struggling to stay awake. I had woken up like really early, didn't really get a lot of sleep the night previous, so I actually woke up this morning and I watched the show in its entirety again, just to make sure I didn't leave out any details here in my notes. I didn't take notes last night either because I was just trying to enjoy the show. But yeah, we're going to get into it. There's some stuff that I want to talk about regarding the Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai match, and then the very end of the show, the conclusion of the show between Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa that you guys are seeing the thumbnail for right now. Let's get into it here. The show kicked off with a Poppy concert. They've been using her quite a bit on NXT. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of relationship here where Poppy will come on every now and then, whether it's for takeover events or whether it's for just NXT TV. I know she played a song for Io Shirai to come to the ring, so that was pretty cool. I enjoyed the concert. I'm not really into Poppy music that much. I don't know. I liked her outfit. I have it here in my notes. She looked like the daughter of, looked like she could be the daughter of Zurg from the Buzz Lightyear cartoons and the Toy Story 2 film. I couldn't really hear much of Poppy when she was singing. I don't know if it was just the feed that I was watching where her voice was just really low, but I don't know. I just couldn't hear anything. The first match of the night, though, was Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic for the NXT North American Championship. I've been really excited to see these two finally compete on a takeover stage, and they did not disappoint here. I was really hoping that they would be able to do a lot more entertaining spots than what they've done in their TV matches, because it would mean that they could do a lot more and excite a lot more people. Sorry for that for a second. I had to stop. I got a weird phone call. But they were able to pull off a lot of great stuff here, make a lot of other amazing moments for another amazing match for these two. Notes I have here, the match started off, there were lots of tests of strengths, things really kicked into gear. Keith Lee hits a big Hurricane Rana, and the crowd popped huge for it. Later on, Dominic Dijakovic tried to do a big dive over the top rope, and Keith Lee caught him in a powerbomb, but Dijakovic countered that. Dijakovic tried to hit the time to fly, like the launching suplex that he does, onto the apron, but he couldn't really get Keith Lee up for it, so it was kind of just like he kind of suplexed him onto the apron, and then Keith Lee just fell off. Still impressive to try and go for, though. Later on, back in the ring, Keith Lee gets hit with a Cyclone Big Boot from Dijakovic, and Dijakovic hits a corkscrew splash, but he only gets a 2 count. Later on, Keith Lee gets caught on the top rope from Dijakovic, and Dijakovic is lifting him up into the Samoan drop position, and his legs are just shaking while he's trying to freaking get him up here, but he finally does, and he hits a twisting Samoan drop or a Death Valley drive or something like that. It looked very brutal. Later on, Dijakovic gets pounced by Keith Lee back, and he hits the middle and bottom turnbuckle pads, and that looked brutal, and immediately the referee went in and asked Dijakovic if he was okay. Later on, they're battling out by the announcers' tables. This is where one of the biggest moments of the matches came. Keith Lee silences the crowd, and then he chops Dijakovic once, and then the crowd says one more time. So Keith Lee grabs an office chair that was sitting by the announcer's desk, sits Dijakovic in the office chair, and then chops his chest again. And it was just very brutal. But Dijakovic hits the Cyclone kick on Keith Lee and sends him sitting down in the chair. And then he goes back into the ring, and then he does a springboard senton out of the ring onto Keith Lee, who's sitting in the chair by the announcer's tables. And I am really glad that this spot went well, because if Dijakovic didn't make it all the way, he basically would have just power bombed himself into the freaking mat on the outside. So I'm glad that it went really well. Like I said, another big moment between these two. Very, very good. Back in the ring, we had some more back and forth between these two. There was a moment in the match where both men tried to go for choke slams, but both of them did like backflips out of it. Dijakovic's was a little bit better than Keith Lee's, but still a hell of a thing to even attempt for Keith Lee. Imagine a guy that size doing a backflip out of a choke slam. Later on, Keith Lee takes advantage and hits a spirit bomb, but then Dijakovic just like rolls out of it. He like no-sells it. He hulks up, tries to go at Keith Lee, but Keith Lee hits him with another spirit bomb, but only for a 2 count. The ending of the match came when Keith Lee went up top and Dijakovic stopped him and hits a Spanish fly, a massive Spanish fly. Doesn't go for the pin, tries to go for Feast Your Eyes twice, but his back just gives out each time from all the damage that he's done. Probably didn't help him trying to go for that springboard senton earlier, but oh well. And then Keith Lee lifts him up and hits the Big Bang Catastrophe for the win. After the matchup, Keith Lee picks up Dijakovic and they both celebrate, and they celebrate together. Dijakovic gets helped up onto the top rope by Keith Lee to celebrate and stuff like that. That is how the first match went. It was really, really good. I don't know who goes after Keith Lee next. There was Damian Priest and Killian Dane and, maybe Killer Cross, maybe Velveteen Dream. I don't know. There's a lot of people that could go after Keith Lee now that he's possibly done with this whole Dijakovic feud. Who knows? These two could go like Gargano and Ciampa. They could go multiple takeover events, just getting more and more exciting each time. But we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we had Tegan Nox versus Dakota Kai in a street fight. By the way, I got my prediction right for that matchup. I predicted Keith Lee would win. This next one, though, I got my prediction wrong. So the match begins pretty quickly. Dakota Kai attacks Tegan Nox during her entrance, which I didn't notice this until I saw somebody have a thread of it on Twitter. I really wish I could remember. But somebody linked that Tegan Nox has been wearing Captain Marvel-themed gear for a lot of her big matches, and each of them have been themed after like different phases of the Captain Marvel suit during the movie. This one was no different. I'm assuming that once she gets the actual Captain Marvel colors is going to be like her big moment. I don't know, where she goes supernova, but I just thought that was cool to mention. Not the last of comic book themed attires we'll see on this show, as I'll talk about later on. But yeah, the matchup starts. Dakota Kai attacks her during the entrance. They battle through the crowd. Tegan Nox spears Dakota Kai through the barricade. Later on, Dakota Kai introduces a whole bunch of trash cans and a chair. Dakota Kai traps Tegan Nox in the steel steps, and from under the ring produces a cricket bat, which was a very weird weapon to just randomly be under the ring. I guess cricket must be a big game in Portland. Either that or somebody just randomly left a cricket bat underneath the ring. It was weird. She tried to swing it at Nox. Nox ducked, and then the bat just broke on the ring post on impact. Tegan Nox gets back the advantage, and then she takes down Dakota Kai. She has her sitting like up against the ring steps. She takes a trash can and puts it over Dakota Kai's head, then runs at her, and then hits like a running senton onto Dakota Kai while she has the trash can over her head. And Tegan Nox's immediate reaction was the reaction of, I really shouldn't have tried that because that hurts really, really bad. Like, her back like landed on the trash can bent, probably didn't feel good. But, she was so focused on hurting Dakota Kai, it didn't really matter. Later on, Tegan Nox set up a table, but Kai tried to put her through it with the big boot. Kai caught her, though, with a bunch of super kicks. And I don't know why, it just was very satisfying to watch because all the super kicks landed like perfectly, so it was just really good to watch. It was like several of them. It was like bam, super kick, bam, super kick, bam, super kick. I just wrote in my notes here, multiple super kicks. Nice. So very, very good thumbs up for that. Anyways, later on in the match, we had Tegan Nox hitting a German suplex to Dakota Kai onto a trash can. That was pretty brutal. And later on, Dakota Kai goes up top with Tegan Nox, and Tegan Nox like hits her with a top rope choke slam. She's a really big fan of Kane. Something that I didn't really like about this spot was just because Dakota Kai got up really quickly. And I mean, that's a top rope choke slam. And I mean, the finish to this match was kind of similar, where somebody got tossed off the top rope from a high height and stayed down. Granted, there was a table there. But I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird for Dakota Kai to get up after like a few seconds after getting hit with this massive top rope choke slam. But I mean, it's small stuff. Later, like after she gets back up, Tegan Nox hits a Molly Go round, but only for a 2 count. There was also a moment where Dakota Kai taped up Tegan Nox's arm to like one of the ring posts, and she hits her with like several big boots. And then she grabs like a laptop, but Tegan Nox counters that and then uses it on Dakota Kai. The finish comes, they're both back in the ring, and Tegan Nox hits her with her finish, the Shiniest Wizard. She doesn't pin her, she says she's not done with her yet, goes outside, grabs the table, sets it up in the ring, puts Dakota Kai on the table, and then takes the chair and puts it around the neck of Dakota Kai. She goes up top, she's about to hit this splash, and then from out of nowhere, her new name is Raquel Gonzalez. I've known her as Rena Gonzalez. She runs down and she stops Tegan Nox from hitting the dive. Now, for a split second, watching this, I thought it was Sonya Deville for a split second, and apparently I wasn't alone in that. But then I saw a better look and I realized who it was. But when I heard them say Raquel Gonzalez, I was just very confused. I was like, when did they change her name? But apparently a few days ago she had a name change to Raquel Gonzalez. I don't know, I kind of like Rena Gonzalez better. So she stops her from hitting the dive and instead hits her own like top rope choke slam toss. But Nox doesn't go through the table, she actually just hits the table and slides off. It was a New Japan table, you know, I am the table type of moment. Dakota Kai crawls over, pins Tegan Nox for the win, and then afterwards, I'm just going to call her Rena Gonzalez. Rena Gonzalez comes over, picks up Dakota Kai, raises her hand up in victory. There were 2 things that I want to talk about this match. Number 1, somebody on Twitter predicted the outcome of this matchup perfectly. I can't remember who it was, but like 2 hours before the show started, someone tweeted out for like their prediction, like, I really hope Dakota Kai wins and Raquel Gonzalez debuts as her muscle. And it was just so accurate of a prediction. I don't know how the heck, either they worked for WWE or they were just really, really lucky. So the next time a big lottery comes around, I'm just going to ask them what the winning numbers are, and hopefully I win the lottery. The second thing that I wanted to talk about with this was a lot of people were wondering why Raquel would help Dakota Kai, and it's kind of a story that hasn't really come to light a lot, but I feel like if they go with this type of story, it might make a lot of sense. So many people won't know, but a long time ago, before Rhea Ripley became a single star and beat Shayna Baszler and all this, she was a tag team partner with Rena Gonzalez, and they were like R&R, the tag team. I got to see them at my NXT live event that I went to. And then after Rhea Ripley got into the feud with Shayna Baszler, and they were going into the War Games match, the same War Games match where Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai had their big feud begin, Rhea Ripley didn't choose Rena Gonzalez to be on her team, and Rena Gonzalez said, like, okay, fine, we're not friends anymore since you didn't pick me for the War Games match. I could see that as being the same reason why she's partnered with Dakota Kai, because Dakota Kai was mad that she didn't get to be on the team for War Games, and which is why she turned on Tegan Nox during that match. So it could be a thing of, you know, Rena looks at Dakota Kai and says, like, look, we both got betrayed by our friends because we didn't get picked for the War Games match. Let's just take them both out together. First we take out Tegan Nox, then we take out Rhea Ripley and become the women's champion. One of us becomes women's champion. If that's the way that they go with this story, I feel like it would make a lot of sense. If not, it is going to be very weird, but in my mind, that's how this partnership makes sense, is that both of them are both former friends of people that didn't get picked for War Games. Yeah, I feel like that's the best way that this partnership is going to work. If they say that it's because both of these women were friends with people that wouldn't let them be in the War Games match, that's the only way that I feel like this story makes sense. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they play it off on NXT TV. Going forward, this is probably going to lead to a tag team match. It's probably going to be Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox and Candice LeRae. that'll be pretty cool to see. I'm excited to see more of Raquel now on NXT proper, and then, hey, who knows, maybe we'll get some payoff, maybe we'll have Rhea Ripley versus Rina Gonzalez later on down the line. Alright, so up next we had Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor in their Blood Feud match, the match we were originally supposed to get at TakeOver War Games before Johnny Gargano's injury. Gargano comes out, and he comes out in this Johnny Carnage themed attire, which is kind of funny because the Johnny Carnage attire is something I did for my NXT Universe mode on this channel, which that whole storyline was basically like when Johnny Gargano wears that outfit, he becomes more evil, which is pretty cool considering what happened at the end of the show. They did something similar to what I did. But yeah, the match starts, some good back and forth here. At one point, Finn Balor does like some push-ups while he has Johnny Gargano's head trapped between his legs, which was pretty cool. I never noticed Finn Balor has like a tattoo of like a T-Rex, like a cartoon T-Rex on his arm, so big thumbs up from me on that. I love dinosaurs, if you didn't know. Kind of a random fact, but oh well, brought it up. No taking it back. Later on in the match, Johnny Gargano delivers like a spear to Finn Balor on the apron at one point. That was very cool. Then Finn Balor takes advantage. He starts working over Gargano's leg, and then he does like this stomp onto Gargano's leg. We've seen him do it before, and like at one point, Gargano just like shoves him over the top rope, but Balor gets quickly back in the ring and then applies like a leg lock, and then Gargano gets the advantage back, and he gets Balor out of the ring, tries to go for a suicide dive, but Balor catches him in the 1916 position, but then Gargano counters out of that, and he hits like a running, rolling senton off the apron, gets Finn Balor back in the ring, tries to go for the lawn dart on Finn. Finn reversed it into a reverse DDT and gets the 2 count. And then later on, I didn't really have a lot of notes for this match. I was just paying attention so much each time. But later on, we had like a really cool striking sequence, and it ended with Balor hitting like a Pele kick. And then as Gargano falls, he falls onto Finn Balor for a 2 count pinfall, which was really, really good. And then Balor puts like Gargano in between the ropes. It's like how Ciampa sets up people for that like draping DDT. So Gargano's through the ropes like this, and Balor goes up top, and he tries to hit like a foot stomp. And Gargano moves out of the way, and it perfectly set him up for Gargano's like slingshot DDT. I thought that was like a really good setup for that move. I thought it was really, really good. This was kind of getting towards the end of the match, but Gargano on the outside hits Finn Balor into the barricade. He does like the running drop kick that Finn Balor did to Gargano to kind of set off the whole feud, which was really good. And then he tries to hit his own 1916, but then Balor drops him onto the Spanish announcers table. And then Balor gets up on the second table, runs across both announcers table, and hits a running dropkick onto Gargano, sending Gargano flying off the Spanish announce table into the barricade. And then Balor rolls him back into the ring, hits the coup de grace and the 1916 for the win. Finn Balor wins. I got that prediction wrong. And then afterwards, he's like bad-mouthing Gargano. He's like grabbing at his face and like yelling at him, and then he celebrates afterwards. I was not expecting Finn Balor to win here. I was expecting them to do the whole thing like Johnny Gargano is the new flag bearer of NXT, but I mean, cool. I didn't mind it. I was excited to see this matchup. Very interesting. I'm interested, definitely, after what happened at the end of the show, I'm interested to see what happens to Johnny Gargano next. But coming up next, we have the NXT Women's Championship. It is referred to as the NXT Women's Championship for like a week. It was just known as the NXT Championship, or maybe it was 2 weeks. They tried just calling it the NXT Championship, and people were very confused or mad. I don't know. I prefer it being called the Women's Championship just because it makes more sense, and also because there's already a championship called the NXT Championship. I don't know. It was a lot of confusion. But up next, we had Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair came out wearing a very nice entrance attire with like a cape that said Black History in the Making, which was very nice considering this is taking place during Black History Month. I feel like this was kind of the lowest of all the matches, which is not to say it wasn't good. Like, the crowd was just crazy throughout every single match. I was really glad that there was no match where the crowd was really quiet. This was kind of just a match where I mean, the ending wasn't really in doubt, especially considering it went the way a lot of people thought it would. I still took a lot of notes here, or quite a few notes. There's a lot of great back and forth during like the beginning of it. At one point, Rhea Ripley hit this nice like electric chair face buster for a 2 count, and then Bianca Belair like puts Rhea Ripley on the top rope, and then it ends up being like a slap fight, and both of them just keep slapping each other back and forth, and then Belair uses the hair braid and whips Rhea Ripley, hits like the military press slam, and then like a splash for a 2 count. And then at one point, Rhea Ripley tried to hit the Riptide, and then it gets reversed, and Belair gets her up for the KOD, and Rhea Ripley reverses that. And then like Bianca Belair tries to do like the leapfrog, where you do like at the beginning of the match, where someone will like jump up and then the other person will run into their legs. Well, Bianca Belair jumps up, and then Rhea Ripley just plants a big boot like right in her face. It was really cool. I think I've seen her do it before, but I just love seeing her do it. It's a really good move. Later on, Rhea Ripley gets back body dropped over the top rope, and this was like Rhea Ripley with a running head start at Belair, and Belair just like launches her over the top rope, and it looked like friggin' Rhea Ripley was about 2 inches away from like busting one of her knees or both of her knees. Anyway, Belair hits a nice top rope or tope con hilo over the top rope to take out both of them. I didn't really have a lot of notes after that until the finish, which was Rhea Ripley tries to hit a sunset flip powerbomb off the top rope, kind of similar to the one that broke Seth Rollins' knee at that one house show. And then Bianca Belair holds on, so Rhea Ripley grabs Bianca Belair's arm and pulls her down and pulls her head into one of the top turnbuckles, and then that basically knocks out Bianca Belair. Ripley hooks her for the Riptide, and then hits the Riptide, picks up the win. Rhea Ripley is still the women's champion, and then almost immediately after the matchup, Charlotte Flair attacks. She asks for a microphone. She says, "I'll see you at WrestleMania," and then she hits her weird natural selection. I really don't like that move. It does not look impactful at all. Like, it looks like Charlotte Flair is doing a front flip onto the mat next to her opponent, and her opponent just falls into the mat face first. It doesn't really look that painful. I don't know. Maybe it is painful. Who knows? But anyways, after she attacks Rhea Ripley, she attacks Bianca Belair a little bit. She walks up the rampway and leaves. So it looks like we're getting Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Awesome. I'm happy to see NXT representation at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley's been doing really good. I'm happy to see her getting her moment at WrestleMania. Now, where this leaves Bianca Belair is to be determined. I personally, in the interim, would like to see Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair at the Elimination Chamber. I feel like that would be really good, just as an interim feud. And then we can get Charlotte Flair losing to Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. I'll be excited to see that. Next up, we have the Undisputed Era versus the Broserweights. The Undisputed Era come out, and my first note for this match is Bobby Fish's hair is starting to look a little bit more gray. I don't know if he got the Just for Men in yet, or maybe he had to wait until he got back to Tampa to put that in. But anyways, the Broserweights come in on their entrance cart. Matt Riddle tries to get the chant going of, like, how much fish would Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish thing going, and he's got, like, the singing words on the bottom of the screen. I didn't really like it that much. And apparently Undisputed Era didn't like it either, because they attacked him on the rampway. So anyways, the match begins. We get some really good back and forth. I didn't really start taking notes until it started to, like, kick up a little bit. So Undisputed Era take advantage. They're working over Pete Dunne, and then Pete Dunne tags in Matt Riddle, and Riddle is just hitting all these, like, massive freaking, like, double moves onto each man. He, like, friggin' running sentons both men, kicks them. There's GTSs everywhere. At one point, Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne try to go for the powerbomb knee strike combo, but Matt Riddle kneed a little bit too early, so it basically just looked like Matt Riddle did, like, the knee motion, and then Pete Dunne just powerbombed him, like, right afterwards. But anyways, they follow that up with, like, double dives, but Kyle O'Reilly gets his knees up on Matt Riddle's dive off the top rope and takes advantage. Later on, Matt Riddle no-sells a couple German suplexes. Looks pretty cool. Spears Kyle O'Reilly, but Bobby Fish is able to break up the jackhammer attempt. Later on in the matchup, Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne are both locked in submission holds. Matt Riddle has Bobby Fish on his back, and Kyle O'Reilly is in front of him with like a sharpshooter on Pete Dunne. So Matt Riddle decides to hit a knee strike on Kyle O'Reilly and just falls back and plants Bobby Fish onto the mat. It looked like the Undisputed Era were going to win here. At one point, Kyle O'Reilly shoved Pete Dunne into Matt Riddle, knocking him off the apron, and then later on, Matt Riddle accidentally speared Pete Dunne, and then they got a really good near fall Undisputed Era hit chasing the Dragon for the 2 count. I thought that might have been the point where Pete Dunne decides to turn on Matt Riddle, but thankfully not. The finish came. Pete Dunne hits a nice X-Plex, and Matt Riddle catches one of the Undisputed Era into a powerbomb and the knee strike combination. It looked really, really good. And then they hit the Brodus Sleep and Enziguri combination for the win. We have new NXT Tag Team Champions. I got that prediction right. Congratulations to Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. I feel like this is going to be really, really good. They have the matching gear. Their theme song still needs some work. It's just another one of those like mashing 2 themes together. But, I thought it was really good. I thought this was a really good tag team match. Nice to have some new tag team champions. I'm interested to where this goes. I'm interested to see how long the partnership lasts between Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. I'll be very shocked if it lasts more than like one takeover cycle. But I guess we'll see when we get there. But yeah, this was really, really good. All except for the opening rhyming thing with Matt Riddle and Bobby Fish. Other than that, this was a really good tag team match. And then we had the main event, Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. This is surely a matchup that a lot of people are going to find divisive, kind of like Cole versus Gargano at, Takeover 25, I want to say, where it might have been Takeover New York or Takeover 25, where people were complaining that they kicked out of a lot of finishers and stuff like that, especially Gargano. I think somebody made the point of you could have run him over with a bus and he still would have kicked out. I don't know if this one went a little bit too far like that. I don't know. I thought it was fun. I thought this was really my match of the night. I really liked it, especially the ending. But we'll get to that when we get there. The match starts off, they do a good back and forth bit. Ciampa tries to hit fairy tale ending. Cole counters. Cole tries to hit the super kick. Ciampa counters. On the outside, Ciampa hits a running knee while Cole is sitting in the chair at ringside. And he hits the chair. He sits on top of this production box, and this guy in the crowd right next to him is cheering really, really hard, really, really loud, and he has a hand up waiting for Ciampa to give him a high five. Instead, Ciampa just grabs him by the head and kisses his forehead, and the guy freaking celebrates way too happy. But I mean, heck, in the heat of the moment, it's a really good takeover. You get a kiss on the forehead from Tommaso Ciampa. I guess the guy was just really, really happy, really excited to be there. Portland was very excited for an NXT Takeover event like this. Tommaso Ciampa, after that, gets kind of distracted while he's talking to Goldie at ringside, and then he tries to hit a powerbomb on Cole through the announcer's table, and Cole instead hits this wheelbarrow suplex onto the edge of the announcer's table, right on the neck of Tommaso Ciampa, which Cole works over the neck later on, and he tries to hit a top rope Canadian Destroyer, and then Cole tries to hit the air raid crash, and Cole counters that and hits a backstabber, but he targets the neck again. He hits the backstabber, but he basically tries to get his knees up near Tommaso Ciampa's neck, and he works over Ciampa for a little while, but Ciampa comes back and he hits multiple running clotheslines. He just runs off the ropes back and forth. Cole keeps getting up, gets hit with another clothesline, gets back up, gets hit with another clothesline, and this happens freaking 5 or 6 times in a row. Follows it up with a running knee strike and hits this spin out powerbomb for a 2 count. Cole gets back the advantage later on, though, until Tommaso Ciampa finally hits that top rope air raid crash off the top rope for a 2 count. Cole rolls to the outside, and Tommaso Ciampa tries the powerbomb through the table again. Cole tries to powerbomb Ciampa through the table, and then Ciampa counters that and hits 2 powerbombs to put Cole through the announcer's table. Didn't quite break the first time. broke the second time. Obviously, it was the Spanish announce table. Didn't even have to mention that. Tommaso Ciampa tries to hit the running knee, or hits the running knee, but then Cole fires back with a super kick. Cole then tries to go for the last shot. Ciampa reverses that and hits a Project Ciampa for a 2 count. Very brutal sequence there. Cole tries to go for a suicide dive to the outside, and Ciampa hits him with a knee strike in the midair. Cole, though, takes advantage back in the ring, and he's like bad-mouthing Tommaso Ciampa. So Ciampa decides to slap Cole a lot. And then later on, I'm just blasting through this stuff. Later on, Cole tries to hit the last shot for a 2 count. And then this is where I saw a lot of people starting to get flashbacks to that Cole Gargano match at the previous takeover. There was a lot of brutal moments here. I just started listing off a whole bunch of them. There was an air raid crash onto the apron from Tommaso Ciampa. Adam Cole jumped off of the other announce table and hit the Panama Sunrise on the floor. Throws Ciampa back in the ring, and then Ciampa catches him with the draping DDT that they're now calling Willow's Bell, which apparently is named after his daughter. And then he hits the fairy tale ending, but only gets a 2 count for it. And then after this, Roderick Strong runs out and he distracts the referee. Meanwhile, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish on the other side of the ring attack Tommaso Ciampa while the ref isn't looking, and then they toss him back in the ring after hitting a double team move, but it only gets Cole a 2 count. Later on, Ciampa takes out all of the Undisputed Era with this big dive and gets back in the ring, but Cole hits him with a bunch of super kicks and a last shot, but only for a 2 count. Once again, another sense of people kicking out of a ton of finishers, but hey, it works in the moment. Meanwhile, Cole talks to Roderick Strong, and they come up with this plan. So Undisputed Era distract the referee again. Cole gets the NXT Championship and tries to use it on Ciampa. Ciampa tries to go for the fairy tale ending. Cole shoves him off and bumps the referee, so the referee is out. Ciampa takes out Undisputed Era, and Adam Cole tries to take advantage, tries to hit the Panama Sunrise again. Ciampa catches him with a low blow and a fairy tale ending, and there's no referee, so he gets the visual pin. The ref is out, but the crowd counted to 13. Adam Cole was out for a long time. And then this is where the finish comes in. So Ciampa just hit the fairy tale ending. Referee's out. Ciampa looks over at the NXT Championship and starts crawling towards it. Somewhere in all of this, Johnny Gargano walks to ringside, and he's wearing a DIY t-shirt, and he's cheering Ciampa on. And Ciampa's crawling towards the NXT Championship. Gargano's on the other side of the NXT Championship outside the ring. Ciampa grabs the championship. Gargano grabs the championship as well. And he yanks the championship out of the ring, and Ciampa's just staring at Gargano, and then Gargano looks at the championship, looks back at Ciampa. Ciampa has his head through the ropes staring at Gargano like you're seeing in the thumbnail here. And then Gargano just clocks Ciampa in the head with the NXT Championship. And then, like all bad luck happens, the referee finally comes to after the good guy, or I guess, quote, good guy in this match, gets hit with the championship, and then Cole covers Ciampa finally for the 3 count. Adam Cole retains the championship with this shocking attack from Johnny Gargano. So Undisputed Era still have 1 piece of gold left, and a lot of people were very confused by this finish, why Johnny Gargano would attack Tommaso Ciampa. They thought that they were friends and all that. Again, DIY was back for that whole match at Worlds Collide. I really understand why Johnny Gargano did this. Before Ciampa came back from his whole neck injury, and everyone, I even said this in my predictions, I don't get why everyone now likes Tommaso Ciampa just because he got hurt, and now that he's back, he wants his championship. Let's not forget, before Ciampa left, he was still in this feud with Johnny Gargano, where he was, literally before Ciampa had to go out for injury, they were in the Dusty Classic together, and Ciampa, after losing in the Dusty Classic, tried to throw Gargano into the LED board again. Gargano stopped him from doing it, and then super kicked him. Before all this, Tommaso Ciampa was still a bad guy. He came back, and everyone was excited for him to be back and go after Goldie again, but he was still a bad guy. And Johnny Gargano's whole thing before this, in their previous part of the rivalry, was that he was mad that he made Tommaso Ciampa NXT champion. And now Tommaso Ciampa came back, and Johnny Gargano still doesn't want Tommaso Ciampa to be the NXT champion. That's why he stopped him here tonight. That I can understand. In my mind, Johnny Gargano did nothing wrong. I even put it on Twitter. Hashtag Gargano did nothing wrong. If that's the angle that they take with this story, that Gargano made a promise that Tommaso Ciampa would not be NXT champion, then this basically amounts to a story of if people boo Gargano and Gargano is now a heel, then it's basically a story of the bad guy believes that he's doing the right thing by stopping Tommaso Ciampa from being NXT champion. But in my mind, Johnny Gargano is still the good guy. Tommaso Ciampa is still the bad guy in all this. People are going to boo Johnny Gargano. I'm still going to cheer Johnny Gargano because I understand what he's doing, and in his mind, he believes it's right. I believe it's right to an extent. I feel like if he was going to stop Tommaso Ciampa from becoming NXT champion, he probably would have cost him that number one contenders match maybe, or maybe attacked him, putting him back on the shelf in kayfabe sense, kind of like what Tommaso Ciampa did to Gargano before. But, there's a lot of big stuff coming out of this pay-per-view. Like I said, Undisputed Era have one piece of gold left. Johnny Gargano doing this to Tommaso Ciampa sets them up possibly for another match at this year's WrestleMania Takeover at WrestleMania weekend. We have Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Raquel Gonzalez has debuted. I'm excited to see where that story goes. We have new tag team champions. The crowd was crazy throughout this. They especially loved the ending of the show. Great show overall, like I said. I feel like the only thing that kind of tampered the crowd out a little bit was Ripley versus Belair, but that was still a really good match. All in all, I thought this was really, really good. Some really good weeks of NXT TV are up to us to watch heading into WrestleMania weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What was your favorite match or favorite moment of the show? Were your predictions correct for the show? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. Before we go, I would like to kind of plug, if you want to help out the channel in any way and you want to get some cool gear in the process, check out my Teespring store. I have a lot of t-shirt designs there, some stickers and stuff like that. Check that out. The link to that is in the description. Other than that, thank you for listening to this Talking Takeover review for NXT Takeover Portland 2020. I believe the next time you guys will hear my review will be for WrestleMania weekend's NXT Takeover Tampa, which they played an advert for during the show. They also played an advert for the next UK Takeover event in Dublin. That's going to be very cool. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I will see you guys WrestleMania weekend. Thank you for listening.